What is up, Shark Nation? Welcome to another episode of the SharkPod. We're here with our very special guest, Tom Dalton. Tom, how are you getting on?
Very good, lads. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Appreciate being on the podcast. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Delighted to have you here. Mark Baker, as usual, in Glenageary. How are you getting on, Marky B?
All good, all good. How are you, Luke?
I'm fantastic. You know, I'm living in the. I've been doing a lot of self-development here, Tom, this week. I don't know what it is. I'm feeling pretty positive.
I worry when Luke says that. I don't know what he's been reading. Go on. Tell us.
I've got this new. So Tom, I've got this new business idea, right? And what I usually do is I've had a lot of ideas over the years. Me and Mark.
It's not drones for phones, is it?
It's not drones for phones. Shout out to Lesher out there if you're listening. If you're still taking investment, holler at Shark or Luke at shark.ie. But it's a business idea. What I usually do is I have these great ideas, and then I tell Mark about the ideas, and I say, "This is it. This is what we're going to do." And that's kind of good enough. Once I get validation from Mark that it's a good idea, I go, "Okay," and then I don't actually follow through. So we're going to try something different here, and I'm going to build the minimum viable product, and then I'm going to pitch to Mark. See if what he thinks then, but it's going to be an actual business before we get onto that. So might do a bonus episode there. But for now, Tom is the founder owner of TD Performance, and also the producer. I don't know, like podcaster of the Making It Happen podcast. I was going through some of the episodes there. I saw Jamie White there. He keeps on popping up all the time. This week he's been in, we've been doing research on other guests, and he's on that webpage as well. He's on your podcast. He's out there in Bali, living the dream. So shout out to that guy. And let's kick off the podcast. There's a lot of rambling today, Mark Baker. But Tom, how would you describe your business to the listeners? TD Performance. That's your mainstay, right?
Yeah. Just one thing there before you start. You mentioned about thinking of starting your own business. Anyone that's in that position, there's a great video on YouTube of Brian Tracy. And he talks about the people that have these great ideas but never aspire to them. And he calls it the someday I'll syndrome. And It's very good. It's just interesting. People have thousands of ideas, but they're sitting at their couch and home and they're 80 years of age and they say someday I should do it. But sorry, back to me. Tell you about TD Performance and what I do. So I originally founded a fitness company, if you want to call that. Didn't know what I was doing, called Tom Dalton Fitness. And I was doing classes with gear out of the boot of my car, and that developed into me doing after school boot camps with teachers. So probably the great thing about that, how I fell into it, was I'd no rent. I used to go to schools, the teachers would get changed after the class and the kids went. I'd have a boot camp bodyweight class set up ready to go, and we do classes on site after that. From that, it grew into TD Fitness. Obviously, my initials again, if anyone can't keep up with that. Start developing a bit of a passion towards fitness and what I do. Here in Ireland, there wasn't a lot of people, and the fitness industry is very fickle. When you reach out to people, well, it was at the time, no one wanted to help or support you. Everyone thought you were coming for their territory. They didn't want to give you advice. They were shit, if I'm being honest.
Really?
And so I looked across the water and I looked at some amazing coaches that were in the UK. I was obviously looking to do my best and self-develop and become better and learn how to become, I suppose, an expert or a lighthouse in my field. And so I did a lot of courses in education in the UK, made some very good friends there and network. And then when I was doing TD Fitness and doing my classes and I was working out of a place in Rathfarnham and then Dundrum, I probably found my calling in that group environment. Being in front of 20, 30, 40 people, I knew I was very good at controlling the room and giving them an amazing experience through fitness. And one of the clients then approached me and said, would you be interested in doing something with the company I work for? And at the time I was just saying, yes, absolutely. What can I do? Didn't know what I was doing, went in for a meeting, blagged my way around. And I got a couple of fitness gigs out of it and a speaking talk. And that was kind of my first corporate speaking talk. And after blagging that gig, and at the time, it's no word of a lie, they're a massive multinational, I would have taken €5 to do the gig. I just wanted to have their logo on my CV. That's all I was worried about. I was like, if I can get their logo and say I've worked with these and a testimonial, I can use this as momentum going forward. So I got that over the line. And then I was like, hang on a second here. These guys have money. Corporates are switched on. Corporates are highly invested in their staff. Well-being is huge. Keeping their staff productive, higher energy, keeps their costs down, turnover, sick days. So that's when I kind of start developing the corporate wellness side of things and investigating that area. And luckily enough today, we've got some very, I suppose, large and big clients, and we've worked with a lot of reputable clients over the years, and we continue to grow with them. And I've grown a bit of a team out of that, and that's where we're at. And someone always asks me why I changed to TD Performance. I walked into a meeting once. I know this is a big long-winded answer for you guys, but I walked into a meeting with a potential client once, and at the time it was TD Fitness. And I walked into the meeting excited, ready to go, showing the portfolio of what we can do. And the person turned around to me and says, "Oh, you just do fitness classes?" And I kind of took a step back, and I was like, hold on a second, the name isn't doing anything for me. So that's why I changed to TD Performance, and I kind of developed the brand from there. But yeah, that was probably a long answer for a short question.
No, it would really brought us up to speed as well. Like when you did your first classes with the in the schools, what year was that? Was that a good while ago?
That was, what are we now? That was probably 6 years ago.
Okay. Okay, so it's been quite a kind of a quick journey to get where you are today. When you're working with the corporate, so it's interesting that you're talking about the wellness thing, because this is something that's people are really investing in, especially before the lockdown stuff. I work for HubSpot. I don't know if I mentioned that beforehand, but they
actually worked for HubSpot previously.
Yeah, I saw that on your website. Like they genuinely want to invest in these types of programs for people. Like they'll chip in for your gym membership. You know, you can get your hair cut there, that type of thing. So it is something that where there's a market there that's looking to be filled, or there's budgets there that we can kind of serve. If you got a good product. So what does the business development look like for those types of businesses? Is it all word of mouth? Is it you advertising? How do you get those big companies to kind of get back to you? You know?
The simple answer: knock on doors.
Okay, so you're reaching out to them directly and saying, "This is it. This is."
Yeah. Now, I've been very fortunate that it hasn't all been me. It's obviously some clients have approached us, which is fantastic. And they've seen what we've done, or they've heard what their neighbors are doing, or who they're using as their wellness provider. But for me, I'm a big believer in using your network. And so yeah, it was knocking on doors. It was talking to people and to see if there's an opportunity. I could talk to someone in that company, or who would be the best person to talk to regarding wellness. Do they have a corporate wellness program? Do they have suppliers? And just starting that conversation and knocking on doors.
Perfect. And what are they looking for? Are they looking for, like you said, change it to performance? Are they looking for more than classes? Are they looking for being able to set up like plans for people and stuff like that? For what's the kind of offerings that you give these guys?
Yeah, I'd love to say there's one core offering, but there actually isn't. Every client we go into or we create a package for, it would be bespoke. So we try and tailor to the needs. You mentioned HubSpot earlier, and they could have needs on physical well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being. So every client is so different. So we try and suit the needs to the client. We use a lot of different suppliers and coaches to try and suit the needs. Hopefully we can align and see their adjustments. We also walk into clients and they might have no well-being program. They might have never done anything before. This might be a first off. They might be trialing something. So yeah, it's kind of, that might have been, I don't know how to answer your question there, but kind of vague.
Yeah, but you're just kind of, it's a bespoke service. Okay, I get it. And in your, just because I'm really interested in the fitness industry and stuff like that. I used to work in so I used to teach classes in Crunch Fitness like 10 years ago.
One area, is that right?
Actually, it was out in Oliver Plunkett Key or whatever. Temple Bar, and then in UCD briefly. But there was a buzz I used to get when I was doing it in front of 5 people, or sometimes like 3 people. We do a like a spinning class or whatever type of class we were doing. And I remember thinking, this could be. I genuinely thought about kind of building a career in this, because it's like almost it's like getting on stage almost. It has a captive audience, for want of a better word. But if they have a good time, you kind of feel the energy off that, and it's kind of a bit of a high after that. Is that what kind of drove you to get into this as well? Do you get anything out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And it's one thing during these COVID times I miss 100%. Interaction with people, their energy. You feed off other people's energy. It's something that I miss terribly at the moment. But I'm very lucky that my parents would have probably pushed us into things when we were kids. Push probably isn't the right word, but we went to swimming classes, we tried karate, played football in St. Joseph Boys, and I was dyslexic growing up. So my parents were very much so, how can we help and support that? And they put me through drama lessons. And it was something I actually really loved. And that probably brought me out of my shell, getting up on stage, being in front of people. And I think that helped me transition into the fitness industry amazingly. And I've been very fortunate to go from teaching class of 20 people to go on stage and work with big clients and be doing events where there could be a couple of thousand people in an audience. So absolutely 100%. Yeah, there is a euphoria. There is a great feeling of once people are having a good time and being on stage. I love that side of things.
Amazing. It's something that it's come up on the podcast before, Mark Baker as well. A lot of people that we talk to have dyslexia or other kind of difficulties there that are self-employed or entrepreneurs. I wonder, does it have something to do with that? Tom, did you ever think about that? Does that affect that? I don't know. It's just sort of a pattern that I noticed.
I don't think I'd be where I am today without it. I think I might still be working a job or a 9 to 5, if you want to call that. I don't know whatever age it was, but I always had a kind of burning desire to try and do something myself. And I think dyslexia has helped that dramatically. But it's something, when I was very young growing up, I thought negatively of it, very negatively. I thought I thought I needed to get a pill or a medication to resolve this or solve this. Didn't know what it was. And now, sorry, say again.
Were you very young when you were diagnosed with?
Yeah, I think it was around 7 years of age. And at the time, I hate to say this, but schools weren't up to scratch what they were now. Like my parents had to take me out of school to get diagnosed. Like my teachers at the time were saying, "No, you're fine. Nothing's wrong." Really? And they knew I wasn't keeping up and my spelling was a bit poor. So I'm very fortunate by my parents, and I got diagnosed with dyslexia. But at the time I was like, I have a sickness, I have an illness. What do I need to do? What do I need to take tablets? And I was really down on myself. And then I was just like, hang on, it's just a different way of learning. That's all it is. And I love being dyslexic. And I actually now volunteer with Dyslexia Ireland. I've done workshops with kids and with their parents to how dealing with it. And I'm a big believer that it's helped me to where I am today.
Interesting thing. It takes different mindset to be working for yourself or to not get it. We've talked to, especially lately, Mark, we've talked to loads of people who don't have jobs. And I mean that in a job, like you said, the 9 to 5 or that type of thing. And it seems like a few of them.
Like I would have had a typical kind of normal education. Like there was nothing too different, and went on, became an accountant. I was almost felt like I was too normal to actually break out. But at the same time, there was this dichotomy. I was this kind of accountant, but at the same time I was real entrepreneurial, and I almost had to fight against my logical thinking to break out, and it was a huge leap to make, burn the bridges, right? But that's quite tough if there's nothing really stopping you staying in a 9 to 5. Do you know what I mean? Maybe sometimes if you do have a learning difficulty or difficulty in some area, you kind of feel like the 9 to 5 is going to be tough for you. So almost, what are the other options? And then that's been in your head, and then hopefully you don't go into a shell. You come out and actually use it as a bit of a superpower to go on and achieve bigger things. You know, a bit of a chip on your shoulder type of thing.
Just on that, like, I hope I'm not coming across looking down on a 9 to 5. I know a lot of people who are, that's what they love and that's their passion. And I know people that have a little side hustle on the side where they've extra income coming in the side and they're working that cushy job and they've got the best of both worlds. Then I had a guest on, I had Kareem on my podcast as well, and he made a very good point on the podcast. He had a very high end job with a tech company, very well looked after, and he wasn't happy in the position. Money was great, lifestyle was great, but just he wasn't happy. And he set up his own company with his brother. And I think he's on half the salary he was on, or earnings, and he's so much happier. So listen, it's different for everybody. I think it's a big individual thing. As Mark's just touched on there is that fear of, is that wage coming in? Where's that money coming from? That salary at the end of the week or end of the month, that pays bills.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kareem was on our podcast as well.
Brilliant. Small world.
I couldn't talk to a nicer guy. It was like me and Mark were like chilled out after talking to him. He didn't seem like he was worried about anything. He seemed like he was really self-actualizing, doing exactly what he wanted to do. So delighted with that.
But you'll often find when people do take the leap, you rise to meet the challenge. Whereas if you have that 9 to 5 and you have the side hustle, it's very rare, from my experience, that side hustles actually become anything big. They tend to stay side hustles, which is fine, as you said. If you can get the best of both worlds, that might suit the right person. But if it's somebody who just cannot stand being in the 9 to 5, I feel terrible for them, because it's not a nice place to be. But then again, someone who's suited to a 9 to 5 to be an entrepreneur, that's not a nice place to be either. So it's about knowing yourself what suits you better.
And the one thing as well is, like, school doesn't teach you to be an entrepreneur.
No.
Like it teaches you to go do the Leaving Cert, get as much points as you can, and go for the best college course thing. We're not taught to go out and start your own business and be entrepreneurial. Well, maybe they are now, but they weren't when I was doing it in school.
I think it's a 1 page in the Leaving Cert, the Leaving Cert syllabus on entrepreneurship. Really, really small thing when I was doing it anyway. But just an interesting thing, because that's the one that drives all of the employment, and everything like that. So something that you think that they would be focused on. But listen, there's different strokes for different folks. So you're going along, you're building your client base, you're doing face-to-face gigs, you're getting the hive doing that. You're building bespoke packages for these high-end clients. Dublin, we're kind of lucky in a lot of ways for businesses, because there is a lot of kind of big headquarters of those open-minded companies or forward-looking companies who will be spending money on these types of projects. But what happened? That's what happened in March when Leo Varadkar is standing up there saying that everyone can't go to work anymore. What was that? What was the mindset for you? Were you worried? Were you kind of just on damage control? What was I'd imagine your business would have to change fundamentally.
It's funny you mentioned Jamie White there earlier, and I remember talking to him just after that week, and we had a great conversation. And what happened to me was I got this rush of panic. What the fuck am I going to do? But then the companies didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah.
That was the big thing as well. There was a big media press, offices closed, you got this. Now we've normalized it. Like, we're talking where we are now in January. We've normalized this all. But then there probably was a little bit of unknown and uncertainty and a bit of panic. But then I took a step back and I was like, hold on a second here. We're playing the long game. This isn't, Jerry Duffy always says this. I say it's a marathon, but he says it's an ultra marathon, not a sprint, and listen, don't get me wrong. We had a couple of clients who dropped off, they froze, whatever. They didn't know what they're doing, the direction they're going. They were hit financially. Like, it affected so many businesses and so many people. But my initial reaction was, yes, a little bit of panic, uncertainty, unknown. But you kind of get used to that if you're running your own business, or being a sole trader, or being an entrepreneur, or being a CEO, whatever it is. But I took a step back and I was like, hold on a sec, what opportunities are here? And the virtually has worked out very well for us. A lot of our webinars, workshops, events can be all run online. I'm sure, as most of you guys know, we're doing this podcast via online. I've gotten guests that I didn't expect to get, that I taught them how to do face-to-face, now online. So initially, a little bit of panic, a little bit of onset, but I took a step back and I said, hold on, have patience. And that was the biggest things COVID's given me so far, is patience. And yeah, just take a step back and see what opportunities there actually is.
And were you doing much online before that, online classes and stuff?
No, we were all on site for our clients, and that's what pretty much everyone was doing. Don't get me wrong, there was online coaches and but it wasn't as big as what it is now. And I just think about like how, if you think of travel, like I remember getting on planes to go to meetings in London, and it was just normal, and you'd sit beside someone else who's just gone out for a meeting for a day for 24 hours. That's gone. People do that via Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Blue Jeans now, Skype for Business, you name it. And we've normalized that now, where we just jump on a call and we get the meeting done. We don't jump on a plane.
Yeah, it's such a, because I was traveling a lot, like with my job, because my I run a sales partnership channel for HubSpot, and it's all over EMEA. So we've got partners from Dubai to Spain, right? So I was booking all these flights, doing all these, like doing three trips in February, I think I did. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but in 1 month, 3 kind of 4-day trips is quite a lot out of the calendar, away from your family, all that type of stuff. So, but since then, and that was because it was kind of the done thing to do, especially at the enterprise level. They just kind of expected you to come in. We'll do the contracts in person. We'll go for dinner. We had a lot of fun along the way as well. But I remember, like, a lot of hotel rooms on your own, mini bar there, drinking cans, watching telly. I'm like, this is kind of weird. It's not a very healthy way to be living, So
it's the traveling aspect.
Just the traveling aspect, just kind of like they might be there for, 1 or 2 business meetings, but you're there for 3. Do I miss it?
Yeah.
I do miss it. I do miss it sometimes, as in I had some great partners in some places that would have been nice to kind of spend more time in. Like I've got a partner in Barcelona, so we would have done 2 or 3 trips there this year. Dubai was another one that I'd like to kind of go out there and kind of touch base with. But like overall, my standard of living is actually better because of it. Everything's on Zoom, and we can bang out 5 or 6 meetings in the morning, that we couldn't have had before. And I think that there was kind of a trepidation at the beginning to say that these type of big sales contracts, they don't really happen over Zoom. They want to see, shake your hands and stuff like that. That's not been the case for us. It might be the case in some industries, but in software technology, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't seem to matter anyway. I mean, we had a boom year in 2020 in HubSpot, and record after record. So I think
what software company didn't? Exactly.
So everyone's like, we kind of had the lift that everyone else did. So it was great. But my point is, now I've gone completely remote. So I've changed my contract. I'm not going back to the office. That's kind of, it gives me control about how I'm going to live my life. I've got a baby that came last month. So like, I'm going to build all that, the time around that. And everyone else is, it's going to be fine. So although I do miss the kind of putting on the suit and stuff and then going out to like fancy dinners and stuff, especially in places like we used to go to, we had a partner in Oslo. So I probably won't go to Oslo for a weekend trip because it is scandalous. But if I'm entertaining some clients, why not, Joe?
I wonder, is Mark smirking there? You have a couple of kids, Mark, do you?
I do indeed, yeah.
Is he going to be running out the door from this remote work, and once that baby starts crying on a Tuesday morning, he's had 10 back-to-back meetings?
Yeah, mine are 6 and 8, so they can be bribed right now. So yeah, Luke, I feel sorry for the next year or two. Could be tough for you.
Yeah, actually, they could hear him earlier on. He was having a bit of a, I don't know what was going on there. He was getting it sounded like he was under attack.
I do think that like in Q3 and 4 this year, like when people are allowed to meet again, I do think it will return. I do think the face-to-face meetings, if you're not doing them, I think other people might get the deal over you. Relationships need to be formed. They don't need to be, but they're more solidified in person. That's just the way humans are, even though we're told, to stay at home.
Mark, you're probably in a position, but you're doing deals with companies in the long term. I think that's different. If I'm going to be So if they hire you to handle their talent acquisition for, for the foreseeable, I'd want to meet somebody as well. I don't. Do you know what I mean? It's software. It's somewhat transactional. If they need something to fix, we sell it, and then I may never even speak to those people again. Do you know?
Yeah.
So that game where it's a repetitive game, I think any deal like that, and also Tom, your business as well. If you're working at a company, I guess they're going to be developing their program over time. They might be growing more headcount. How are they going to manage that? So maybe the in-person is more important for you guys.
Yeah, I think it's something that's always going to be there. The one thing I'm noticing from any of the feedback from our clients at the moment, and it'd be interesting to see your thoughts on this, is people are more accessible than ever, but it's not a good thing. We're noticing that the frustrations from trying to manage kids, family time, personal time, working from home, back-to-back meetings, not getting a break, not having time for themselves, trying to have a relationship with their partner, it's all going into one. And I thought it was very interesting. I was reading up on Google there recently, and they have a non-negotiable that you have to take an hour lunch break. And on that hour lunch break, your system goes down.
Interesting. Love that idea.
Your Cisco system's down, your phone, your email, you name it, unless you go off and do a personalized, but that's a non-negotiable, which I thought is very interesting because I'm noticing a lot of burnout from a lot of feedback at the moment.
That's what I was going to ask you, Tom. Like, how have you found people's physical and mental health over the last 10 months at this stage? Has it gone? Did it go everybody's mad into their fitness on Joe Wicks and everybody was doing that in the first 2 months, and then it probably went down? Or what way has it kind of gone?
Yeah, there was a massive peak. Oh, it's grand. We can do everything virtual. But then the way we did it in Ireland, the rush when the gyms opened back up and people could actually physically train with someone was higher than ever, which we noticed. I think now where we're at, I think there's more uncertainty, and I think we're going to be here at this for a long, long run, I do believe. And I think virtual is here to stay on many levels. But I just notice at the moment, people are more accessible than ever. And we try every workshop we do or we deliver, we're trying to make it as engaging and specific as possible. So we try and go into the client and say, what's your problem? What's the gap? And what's the goal? And we try and bring them on that journey from knowing to actually doing. And it's the action in between which we try and sort out. But yeah, back to Mark's question, I do believe people are doing probably twice or triple as much work in their Monday to Friday.
It's an interesting one. I feel like that as well. I start work now kind of like 7:00 in the morning because I'm up anyway, and then I kind of wander in, and then I'm in this box room pretty much, especially on a day like today where it was like raining and stuff. I'll be here till kind of like 5:30. Just like, anyway, that's a long old day just to be sitting on your own.
I feel it will catch up on you. I can do it, and because it's my own business and stuff, I don't mind, and I kind of enjoy it, and I feel almost like I have to. You should never switch off anyway, but I'm kind of waiting for it to catch up on me. It hasn't caught up on me yet, but I wonder how that's all going to materialize with anyone who works from home.
Yeah,
like being able to switch off. You almost have to go out the door at 5:30, go for a walk, and come back in.
Yeah.
Honey, I'm home. Like
it's kind of like you want to plan it kind of like, okay, I'm gonna try to get it, like aim to get all your work done by like 3. If someone put a gun to your head and said, what could you do before 3? That's the stuff that we're gonna get done, and then kind of maybe peter off after that, because like, I don't know about you guys, but after 3:00 in the afternoon, I might be there, but there's YouTube on my second screen. There's, it's kind of, I'm there for the, for appearance's sake, really. My mind's kind of finished at that if I'm working 7 hours or 8 hours. So yeah, listen, guys, take a break. I love the Google idea where they shut down your thing for an hour. I'm gonna pitch that.
If you're competing against them, Luke, to start pitching people in that hour, if they're all switched off.
Yeah, if they don't sell the same software as us, Mark, but if they were, Mark doesn't know what I do for a living.
All tech is the same, isn't it?
Yeah. It's what's interesting for me, guys, is I think where we're really falling down is I think people's commute. people might have cycled to work, walked to work, went for a run, listened to their favorite podcast, dumped their mind from that day and had that 30 minutes on their own, as you say, Mark, walking back into your family, whatever, getting home. I think that's gone now. And I don't think that's a good thing.
No.
Yeah.
And how, like when the gyms opened back up, there's a fly fit down the road for me. Like I was going there on my break. It was great. I had a routine because I'm a big into routine. I like people slag me because I'm very routine. I have the same breakfast, same lunch. But look, I think there's enough decisions to be made in my day that if I don't have to make them, that's fine. That suits me. But
Zuckerberg with the t-shirts, is it? Same SharkPod t-shirt every
yeah,
day.
same shark. So same underwear a lot of the time now. I don't have to see anyone. No, but I found that like I haven't gone to the gym since before Christmas because it's not open. Sorry, I mean actually exercise properly, like lifting weights, not just going for walks. Do you have any suggestions as to what you can do to actually get a decent exercise in now, like in extreme lockdown?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, what are you telling your clients? What's going on with
the first thing I try and say is do what you enjoy. I normally ask a question. I'd be like, give us a wave if physical exercise helps you. And normally the screen lights up with people waving. You know, exercise relieves good endorphins, but like, I'm not going to hear and go tell you Zumba's better than yoga lattes or CrossFit or going to FlyFit. Do what you enjoy. I'm big into triathlon at the moment and I'm enjoying that. If walking your dog skip down the road twice a day is your form of exercise, go do that. I think the biggest thing, and Mark and you both have touched on it, is people have lost their sense of habit and routine. That's some of the biggest issues. But like, go what you enjoy. If you don't know what you enjoy, try walk, try go for a run, try cycle your bike. If you have a bike or a treadmill in there, give that a shot. I do believe if you can mix some sort of cardiovascular with some sort of mobility and some sort of strength work, fantastic.
And what do you need? What would you need for that? What are some basics of some TRX ropes or a field? Like what?
Yeah, like listen, you can do a lot with your body weight. A lot of people would say you don't need any equipment. So yeah, like less is more, no excuses. We have the information there. You mentioned YouTube earlier. Like all the exercises in the world are on YouTube, but no one decides to go and do them. So I think it's important maybe have someone to hold you accountable. If that's a friend, a sister, a buddy, if that's a coach, if you can afford a coach or a personal trainer or someone that keeps you accountable is obviously a big thing. But the biggest thing when it comes to exercise or physical movement is something that you enjoy. If you enjoy walking to your local coffee shop once a day, go do that.
I think that's a good message to have as well, just to get up there and move, because I don't like, there's been this lockdown. People have taken it pretty hard. This is the third, if you're listening in the future, this is the third lockdown for Ireland. It's getting extended by 6 weeks. I've noticed something as well, like not as many people out walking around here. I know it's winter and stuff like that, but also we've been trying to organize a pub quiz with my friends for the last couple of weeks, and it's just like everyone's like lackluster. Everyone's like, no one's putting their hand up. In the first one, we had one every 2 days. Like people were energized. Now everyone's just, it's almost like they've capitulated into this is the way things are going to be going. But
when people do that, they tend to go towards food, and it's tough. Like, and people almost like there wasn't a lot of dry Januaries or not a lot of New Year's resolutions, which is understandable. But again, bad habits can form.
I like the idea, like Joe was saying about the triathlon. That's something that you can, for the most part, control, as in like you can get on a bike, you can still run. If you're near the sea, you can swim. If you got a good wetsuit. So that's actually, I started doing triathlon in the first lockdown because of that. I didn't have the gym for the first time in a long time. So we trained for the Ironman 70.3. I had a coach here in Bray, who's also a friend of mine. And we completed that. But then I did eat a lot, Mark, as you mentioned, quite after that in the next lockdown. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what's next for the TD Performance? Where do you see the business going? Do you have plan? Are you guys still in, let's get through these kind of challenging times and then we'll come out the other end and see where we are? Or what's the vision?
Well, we'd have very specific now goals and trackable goals. Like Mark, we've got a routine and a system in place for our clients. During, I suppose the good thing with COVID is we took on 2 new clients during that time. So that's what I'm saying. I do believe in any circumstance, I think there's opportunity. And like, I don't know if any of you follow Puff Daddy on Instagram, but he put up a thing there and he said, if 2020 didn't bring the hustle out in you, I don't know what will. And that is prominent. And the biggest thing I mentioned earlier, it gave me patience. With TD Performance, it's a long-term play with our clients. We're trying to not do a quick fix. And I'm noticing in the market, there is a lot of quick fixes. And let's get in and let's do this, bish, bosh, bash. But we're trying to suit the needs of the clients, find out what's happening with the staff, with their mental, physical, emotional well-being, what the actual feedback is, try and track the data. We're big on data with most for HR now, to see what's actually happening. So we would have a long-term view, long-term play with our clients, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting as well when you're an employee, your time horizon is a lot shorter, because you're saying, okay, it's kind of quarter by quarter, and then I'll see where I'm at. Then there's no point in doing too much long-term planning because you don't know what the company's going to do, if your program's still going to be around or whatever. But if you have that mindset of doing the kind of the 10-year plan, we had a guest on recently who's sold 3 businesses over his career, and he says, like, it just takes 10 years. He goes, I'm not going to go into a business unless I know that I can commit to it for 10 years. And sometimes he sold them a bit quicker than that. But that's his kind of his go or no go type of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's something to keep in mind as well.
Sorry, Luke. Tom, do you like, what's the network of similar people to yourself, like fitness experts? I think you mentioned to me that you have a group, a mentorship group, or a group that you would chat to. I don't know if it's weekly or monthly.
Like a
Could you
mastermind?
tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think one of them, Jason Kane and Sean McGarty.
Jay, yeah, no, Jay well.
They own a gym in Blackrock. They own a couple of gyms actually, and I'm on their mentorship program, which is called Ascension. And we have a call weekly, and we have a meetup every 90 days. Prior to COVID, we normally meet up if it's 90 days. Once again, very specific. What's your numbers? What's your goals? What are you doing about them? What are your leads? How are you tracking them? And the biggest thing for me is having someone to keep you accountable. Like, Mark, I'm sure you have figures you have to hit. You know? Like, Luke, I'm sure you have sales you got to hit.
For sure.
I'm sure there's someone looking at those that keeps you accountable.
Yeah.
Sure. It's just like, I suppose anyone that's listening, it's interesting you're talking, you had someone that sold 3 businesses. When I first started this business, I never forget being at one of the mastermind meetups, and I was like, I want to sell this business. In 5 years' time, I'm going to sell this. That's my plan. Tom Dalton's going to sell this and make millions and sit back in the sun, hammock and all this. And Jay's like, is that what you want? And I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to do now.
I always, it's a big question to me is like, I have a lot of quotes and stuff up here in front of me and numbers and figures, but a big question I always come to is, what do I want? What do I actually want? And that takes time, man. And it's changing. It could change daily. It could change weekly, monthly. But what do you want? I've probably gone off on tangent here. I was on a call with Jamie White on with his group, and there was a kid on it or a guy on it. And he's like, I read Elon Musk's book. I'm going to do this and I'm going to create this and everything. And it came around to me and I was like, I love your passion. I love your drive. But I was like, what do you want? And like, I don't care what Elon Musk wants. What do you want? And sometimes it's the easiest thing to just cover over, but we don't know the answer to that,
Yeah.
I love that question because the answer might be not that inspiring to other people. What you want might be, I want to work half days. I want to work till 12 and then I don't want to work for the rest. And I don't want to have to worry about, sales quotas, or I don't want to have to worry about X, Y, or Z. There might be that type of thing where people are kind of anti-risk but that's okay. That's not, people don't want to go on a podcast and say, yeah, I want a minimal exposure to risk life. It's not as I think it's harder to admit that's what you're looking for. And I think that's why the 4-hour work week was such a weird thing, because in America, it's like it's almost a badge of honor if you're a workaholic who runs himself into the ground. It's the prototype, or not prototype, what do you call it? Like the typical, 40-something-year-old with the gut, with a red car that I talk about in that book. That's kind of the goal. And if you don't buy into that goal, and you don't want that, you're kind of weird. Like, you're kind of one of the outsiders. So I think it's hard to admit exactly what you're looking for. And
it's the cliche, but like, it is the journey. If you're happy with the journey, I think that's the most important thing. And it's very hard to know what do you want when you're 17, 18 doing the leaving cert. And that's why the education system isn't great.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more. But like, I think this is actually an opportunity for those people. I think we talked about it this last year. It's kind of written off a little bit, the leaving cert, as in the rules have changed a little bit now. It's not going to be as, I don't want to say important, but it's not going to be something that they can hold over you when you're going for different things, because you're like, well, it was a COVID year. You're going to have to make your own moves now. You get to make your own moves now, I think, is how they should be looking at that. Because I see them on the news and they're all very stressed out. I get it. It's only a few months away. They've been told that this is the biggest thing, the most important thing. And then, I'd love to go into schools and show up with people who did very badly in the leaving cert and who did very well afterwards. There is so many people I know like that, and they find themselves in it's the people who are going to seize opportunities after the leaving cert, regardless of the points that they get. I know one guy in particular who was working for ESB or something, putting down like broadband lines, and he saw how much it was costing them to do that. So he just started his own business doing exactly the same thing. And he has like crazy BMW X5s, and do you know what I mean? And he didn't do well. I was in his class. So I know personally I sat beside him. So my point is, we should be kind of holding up those people as well, because we don't really hold up people as examples like that. I've never, when I was in school, they didn't anyway.
That was one of the reasons that we wanted to do the podcast as well, was to speak to all different types of people. And and then the podcast would then be speaking to the, 17, 18-year-old Luke and Mark, and what we wanted. We could have hugely benefited from this, I think, but
I always wish I could go back at like when I was 17 or 18 and kind of sit down with young buck Luke, with all that energy, tell him to settle down. But here, okay, we're gonna go into our lightning round here, just to kick this off. Mark Baker has a whole list of quick fire questions. Don't have to be quick fire answers, but it's kind of like picking our guest's brain. And around this time, we like to jump in there. Mark Baker, what are you thinking? What's on your mind?
Okay, nice and simple to start. What apps do you use the most on your phone?
What apps do I use the most on my phone? I will get it up now. So WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Gmail, and Google Drive. And I've downloaded, I use Garmin Connect for triathlon.
Nice.
Are you planning to do the Ironman? One of the...
Yeah, so I've done 70.3 in Dunleary. I've done 2 marathons. I have planned to do, last year I was meant to do Ironman Copenhagen, but it was obviously postponed. So we've pushed it on to August this year, and touch wood, that's going ahead. And I've been training away, not full training. I'll get back with my coach now in February, March, and kick it off. But when you've pushed your wedding out 3 times as well, it doesn't help,
So priorities, Ironman first, and then wedding. I like
it. Okay, what's the best business idea you've never acted upon?
The best business idea I've never acted on: coffee. I met with Colin Harmon of 3FE. I don't know if you know 3FE Coffee, third floor.
Yeah, lovely coffee, yeah.
When he just had the one place, and I was thinking of doing a mobile coffee unit. And so much so, I was working in a retail store at the time. I used to go down to dart stations, and I used to have a clicker, and I used to click how many people would be at the dart stations. And I said, I'd keep my job, and I could do that before work and walk the evening shifts and do that. And I met Bobby Kerr then, and he put me off it. And I actually went back to college and got into fitness. But coffee, yeah, absolutely.
How did because it's worked out all right for Bobby Kerr? Was he trying
It has. Listen, Bobby Kerr sold it to an Icelandic company, which was a lot of coin for him, which was fantastic. I don't know. Listen, things happen at certain times. One thing I'd advise anyone to do is go work in something whatever they want to do for free. I went and worked in a coffee shop for free. I gave up my time for free, learned about the coffee machine, learned how to make coffees, learned how to do latte art for free. Was not getting paid for it. I got a free lunch. And I was like writing notes, how to do it, how's the flow, everything like that. So enough people don't do that. They don't reach out and go, I'm thinking of getting into your industry. Can I shadow you for a day a week? Oh, Jesus, I hate it. Oh, Jesus, I love it. I really want to do it myself. If that costs you nothing.
Interesting thing. Imagine, like, if you could say if somebody wanted to get into channel sales in a tech business, or they like selling, like, or when I was in direct sales and in software, no one ever said, "Do you want to? How can I help you? And you're going to teach me how to do this because it's something I want to get into." I would have been like, "Great, here's paperwork I don't like doing, but I'll show you how to actually do it as well." Or, "Oh man, that's a really big one." But when I was young, it never really crossed my mind. I think I was so desperate to get some cash as well. This is something that Mark maybe talked about as well. A lot of people we talk to, this isn't really fair. A lot of we have a really wide ranging kind of guest panel where it's all different backgrounds, all different kind of starting points. But I think there is something if you're brought up in a way where it's a place of abundance, where your parents are, even I'm talking about the mental space where they say, you can do anything you want, we've got your back type of thing. Or people when they come out of college or they come out of secondary school, like I needed some cash. It wasn't it wasn't really an option to go work for free full time, but I could have done that part time. I could have got a part time job at night. I could have been spending that time in the apprenticeship model instead of going to college for 4 years. I can imagine what you could do as an apprentice in an organization in 4 years. You could be running the place. So you know the ins and outs of the business.
Like often people think like, I'd love to get that experience in whatever organization or under whoever it is, and just think they're not going to hire me. But if you do it for free, that's skipping the queue. So you're skipping so much rather than trying to wait years to get the experience, to get the chance to interview. If you just say, hey, let me in the door for free, there's such a better chance, and you can really skip that queue. We're going a little bit off topic anyway, but so okay, all right, next one. How much money is enough money?
How much money is enough? Okay, Jordan. I was at Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street, and two things. A quote I stand by: "Money doesn't buy happiness, but being broke doesn't buy shit." Paul Moore taught me that. But Jordan Belfort said at his workshop, money doesn't bring happiness. 100% he agrees with that. But money brings three things you need in life. You need accommodation and a roof over your head. You need money for that. You need food. Okay, you need to eat to survive. And the third thing is you need healthcare. So if you get sick, you need to go to a doctor, hospital, GP, whatever it is, to get healthcare, to get treatment. Money makes those three things easy and manageable. So he's 100%, money doesn't bring happiness. But if you have money, those three things are easy in your life. So if you have enough money for those.
Yeah, I agree. It goes back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And unfortunately, it depends on wherever you live. Like if you live in South Dublin, those three things that you just mentioned could actually, be very, very a high amount of money to actually cover them off. But there is going to be diminishing returns after a certain amount, whatever that is. But it does depend on where you live. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Is it who you know or is it what you know?
Who? 100%.
Okay.
100%. You've heard it before. Your network is your net worth. Like not the people I've reached out to on LinkedIn, I've knocked on doors, I've done direct mail to, that have opened up a conversation, that has got me into another door, that has absolutely your network. Ask. We don't do it enough. No one does it. We're afraid of rejection. Rejection is necessary to succeed. Remember yourself and younger self in Copper Face Jacks. You didn't stop when the first girl said no for a kiss, did you? Like,
Me and Luke settled down at age 17, so no comment.
17, okay. Well, maybe you's not anyway.
And I saw one of my friends used to say this. I don't know if this is PC anymore. This was a long time ago. I'd like to frame this in a kind of a 10 year or more ago. We used to be in my house pre-drinking before going out to Coppers, and he'd stand up and he'd give the I'm blanking on it, the Jack Charlton speech. He'd get up and he'd say, "Listen, we're going to go out to Coppers. We're going to do our best." Right? And he goes, "It's not going to be easy for us, but it's not going to be easy for them either. Put them under pressure." And that was kind of before he went out. So his whole thing was like, he'd go into a room and he'd say, these beautiful women are not going to get away with not rejecting me. I'm going to give it a go. And he did. It worked he did all right. So my point is, he's putting yourself out there. I think you got to step out of the matrix to do that. It's hard to ask for things or it's hard to pitch for business and stuff like that if you're a steady employee as well. It's hard to, I don't know. I watched The Matrix over the weekend, Mark, as well. So I'm kind of in that mindset, the kind of red pill thing.
No, I think any kind of young person should do a stint in sales, whether that be door-to-door sales. Learn how to sell, learn to get rejected, not to avoid it, what it feels like. And look, you'll never go hungry if you can sell as well, but it's just such a good tool to have. Okay. Two more, right? If you could advise someone to learn one skill, what would it be?
Communication. I think that's key for everything. Like, you're always going to be talking to someone. We're human beings. We need to communicate. But like, when I say it, like the art of communication. Have you had Jerry Duffy on your podcast?
No.
Okay. But like, Jerry Duffy would be high up there. He'd be a mentor of mine. Eric Fitzpatrick as well. Like, these high level people of communicators. And there's so much to it. I do a lot of work on it for any of my workshops we do. And communication is everything. And just remember, anyone that's doing it, like presenting or doing workshops or speaking or public speaking, it's not about you. It is about your audience.
It's a big tip as well, because when people are doing, that people say that for a lot of people, it's a big fear to be doing public speaking. But I think that fear is there because instead of being worried about providing value for the people listening, you're saying what they're going to think of, whatever, the demons kind of creep in there. I like that though one. I think we've had communication a couple of times, but I like the way you put that there. Mark, last one. What do you think? What's the burning question here?
Okay. Is there one book that you'd recommend to the 18-year-old Tom?
Is there one book I'd recommend to the 18-year-old Tom? There's two books. One of them's called Go for No. I can't think of the author off the top of my head. And the other book is probably Think and Grow Rich. I read that too late. I read that too late on. It's heavy though. I don't know if I'd have been into it if I was 17 or 18. I probably would have put it down. And then the last book, I'm giving you three and breaking all the rules. Screw It, Just Do It, Richard Branson.
Okay, I haven't read that one.
I haven't read that one either. That's going to be on the list as well. We did this kind of business book breakdown at the beginning of about a year ago on the SharkPod, and one of the books was Think and Grow Rich, and I was trying to explain it to Mark because Mark hadn't read it before, and I loved it. I couldn't believe I got this far in sales and business stuff like that without coming across this book before. I think everybody needs to read this. It's kind of old timey language, I think, that puts people off, because I think it was 1930s or something. It was written. It couldn't be more true today as it was then. It's the same. Nothing changes, with people.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
Luke, your top 3 books, and Mark, your top 3 books.
Top 3 books. Let me have a look here. What's on the thing? Oh yeah. So The Star Principle by Richard Koch. Love that. It's so simple, about investing in a type of whatever type of business would be a star business, and just focusing on those. And when you're making decisions about even where you go to work, they should be star businesses. What else do I have there? I've got a great book that I read years ago. It's called The Intelligent Entrepreneur. It is about people who leave Harvard Business School, and tracks their kind of different stories. It's not so much, why I like it is, it's not so much like crazy famous entrepreneurs. Now the books about like Steve, I'm not going to be Steve Jobs, but I could be the guy in this thing who starts a small website that does a very niche thing. So I find that inspiring. As for number 3, would these be like, actually no, Extreme Ownership. Done.
Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
Mark, I don't know if you notice about that. It's very interesting when you ask someone a question about a book. Luke went into a spiel of every book there. Did you notice that? It was like this bravado of, these are mine. It's very interesting when people, they get so passionate about books. I always find it good. Mark, you go.
I really like the 4-Hour Workweek. It's the only book that I've read probably multiple times. I might have read a few books twice, but I always go back to,
isn't it?
Yeah. It really actually made a difference with me, with my thinking and stuff. What else? I like The Score Takes Care of Itself by
Bill Walsh.
Yeah, it was recommended to me by a friend of mine, Owen.
Jim Gavin recommended that to me, the Dublin coach.
Oh, really? Yeah. And I know nothing. Do you know anything about American football?
I know a little bit.
You don't really need to, though.
No, but someone else recommended, is it The $1 Trillion Coach to me then after that? And it was an awful book, I thought.
I haven't even heard that one.
It's about he's the coach who coached like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and stuff like that. A couple of little nuggets I took from it, but nothing special. But anyway, that's my opinion. What would I know?
I like, same with Luke, we like books or people who reinforce what we already think. So I would agree with the kind of the principles in that book, which is, put all the work in, put the routines, the high standards, and the score will take care of itself, essentially.
That's it. I don't know one thing. I'm sure I'm not the only guy said Atomic Habits, James Clear. Fantastic.
I have that here somewhere, and I still haven't read it. I'm terrible. I buy all these books, and I just look at them and like to think I have a nice collection.
That is, for me, that's golden. It's probably the most favorite book I've read in the last couple of years, I'd say.
Very good.
Have you read Total Recall by Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I haven't got to my final book, Luke.
Not the one that's like that thick. It's a very heavy book, is it?
Very heavy book.
It's Arnold's biography.
Yeah, it's class. Anyway.
My third one
is
the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Little book.
It had a big impact though, like on a lot of people that have
That's the Bible of like exercises.
I think it actually says that's the Bible. Yeah.
It's crazy. I recommend that to 18-year-old Mark. I think you had it. I think you got it for me when I was 18 as well.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And I'll break the rule here. Number 4, the War of Art. I can't remember the author's name, but it's more probably down the arts side, but it can apply to different things. It's just about turning it up and putting the work in, and then the inspiration will come. But yeah, they're mine.
Listen, I need to get more reading done now. That's the only thing with COVID. So like Joe was saying, it really does slow you down. Or you don't have too many gaps in the day where you're just going to say, "I'm going to sit down for 3 hours, do some reading," like you would on the dart. Do you know what I mean? But on that note, I'd like to thank Tom for coming along to the podcast today. Really, really interesting model that you'd have to change over the last COVID months. Hopefully, with the vaccines and stuff, things will get back to a little bit normal. But it's great to hear that you're still acquiring clients during the pandemic for this type of business. I think that's amazing. I think that the message of getting out there and knocking on doors and reaching out to people and networking, not letting this slow you down, is something that any type of business can really use right now. So we wish you all the best of luck in the future, and thanks very much for coming along. One question before you go: would you prefer a T-shirt or a mug?
SharkPod.
Surprise me.
Okay, interesting. No one's ever said that before.
I
Okay,
drink a lot of coffee, but surprise me. I'll leave that up to you guys.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys. I appreciate it, and it's very enjoyable.
all right.
Thanks a mil, Tom. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.